I've had the pleasure of being a part of the culinary journey of the internet's favorite baker. I'm talking about Shivesh Bhatia, who was a promising talent even when he interned in my Love 15 kitchen. Now, Shivesh is a social media darling and the author of 4 cookbooks. So, how do you strike a balance between life online and offline? Shivesh tells us more. Shivesh, thank you so much for being here. You look like you've seen a ghost. No, so I mean, I was just like, while I was putting down my questions and notes, I was trying to think of the first time that we actually met.
Yes.
And I was like, wait, his handle is Shivesh 17. I think I met him when he was 17 years old.
No, I think it used to be Shivesh 16, and that's when we met. And the idea
I met
was
you when
to
you were
kind
16 years old?
I think so, yes. And the idea
God,
was
I
to
feel
update
so
my
old right
handle name every year when on my birthday. But I did it once and then I was like, okay, maybe this is not that great an idea. So it's been Shivesh 17 yet, but I think we met when it was Shivesh 16.
Shivesh 16.
16,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. He was like child. I remember I was at my Bandra store. Instagram was very
Yeah.
new. So 16, that was 10 years ago?
Yeah, you weren't at your Bandra store. I was at your Bandra store and I picked up the macarons.
And you posted a
And I
picture.
posted a picture and you asked me if I'm still around to come over to your studio. So we met there.
I have a picture from it as well, which I will
Yeah, and
show
you had just come from yoga.
And I looked great.
Yes.
With many filters.
Yeah, exactly. But but I was
That was the first time. And I still
and I remember it so well.
Isn't
Like
that
I remember
crazy?
everything so well.
And that was just the start of everything. I mean, it's great to
Exactly.
see what all has happened after that.
Yeah.
But at that point, you were just baking. You were baking from home.
I think even I didn't know what I was doing
Yeah.
at that time. I was baking and I was just sharing a few pictures here and there, and just as like a hobby thing.
So you don't have I know we talk about this a lot because all of us are like, we started baking when we were young
Yeah.
and with our grandmoms.
Yeah.
You don't have any story like that. What is your baking story?
So I didn't actually end up baking until I took up baking seriously, to be honest. So my nanny and my mom used to always bake, but I was always the one eating. I would never really participate. My only contribution would be to just like lick the batter maybe and just say, okay, this is nice, or nothing beyond that. And it was only when I was in, I think, 11th grade, and when my nanny wasn't well, my cousins and I, we literally just got premixes and ready-made frosting, and that was my first baking experience. It was just supposed to be something that we did, like the 4 of us, to keep ourselves busy and to also kind of try and recreate the chocolate cake that my nanny used to make. And after that, I just randomly took it up so seriously.
So baking was not something that you did on the side, and you were actually studying law and you were thinking of taking civil
Yeah,
exam. What is
imagine.
law?
I
Why?
just took CLAT classes because I just thought that, and that's because I think like my mom used to tell me you'd make for a great lawyer. So I just thought that, okay, maybe she's right. And now that I think about it, I feel like she would have said that to me about anything, that I would make for a great anything. But yeah, so I remember that I would do school and then directly from there, I would go for my law coaching classes. And I used to have a horrible time, but I still did that for an entire year. And now I just feel that I could have done so much, with that time. But it's also something that, I know for a fact that there were so many other children in my class who were doing the same thing. And you kind of feel that pressure that, okay, you're in 11th and you need to kind of think about your career and what you want to do later. And it just seemed like something that I would be good at, and which is why I kind of got into it.
But then you didn't end up doing...
And I think I didn't even complete the entire coaching. And I kind of have realized that it's my thing. If there's something that I don't like, I end up then not doing it.
But that's
Yeah.
at least, I think that's good that you know what you
Yeah.
want to do and not, and going...
I maybe realize halfway through. I don't think I'm that good at it yet. I kind of sign up for things and then halfway through maybe I realize that, okay, this is not something that I like.
So I know that you started your baking journey and then eventually at one point you were thinking like, oh, maybe I should go to culinary school.
Yes.
And that was a big thing, right? Because you were like,
Correct.
I don't know. I remember us having this conversation
Yes.
and you were like, I don't know if, if I'd be given the like people will take me seriously, or will I have
Yeah.
credibility if I haven't gone to culinary school?
Correct.
And I said, just work first. That's my
Yeah.
advice that I give everybody when
Yeah.
they come to me and they're like, oh, we want to do this profession. I said, just work in a
Yeah.
kitchen once. And then you came to do an internship with
Yes.
with us. You want to
Which
talk about that experience? I
which
don't
was
think you
like
should talk about that experience, because then everyone will expect to do
expect,
that.
yeah. No, but it was like a 10-day sleepover, which was a lot of fun. And we did everything. But, I feel like, again, I learned so much in that, 10, it was longer than 10 days, I think. But I learned so
14.
much. 14. Okay. I learned so much. And I think that also kind of helped me realize, again, as you said, that I would have probably really regretted going to a culinary school, because I realized that it's not just the kitchen that I enjoy being a part of. Because I remember with you, we did so much ideation about events, and again, like so many other things that you do just beyond, baking and the kitchen part of it. So I realized that my interest lies not just in doing that, but also the other things. And I wanted to continue doing all of it, and not just probably make like the same things for like a certain set of
Because
customers.
that's what running a pastry shop or
Yeah,
being in a kitchen is, right? Like it's very like monotonous, and you're doing the same thing over and over again every single
exactly.
day.
Yeah,
And I think people don't realize that.
and to
And
be away from the phone for so long. Yeah,
the
so yeah,
challenges.
yeah.
But so going back to when you decided that now you didn't want to do law and all of that, how did you have that conversation? I know your parents are very supportive
Yeah.
because I know them, but was that an easy conversation to have? How did that go down?
So to be honest, I feel like I've eased them into like letting them know that I'm going to do what I actually feel like doing. Because for me, not taking up maths after class 10th was a big deal in my family, I remember. And my dada, who was a professor of economics in Shri Ram College of Commerce, in that vacation period between 10th and 11th, sat me down, and he was like, his mission was to convince me to not drop maths. And he kind of got all the 11th, 12th maths book, and he thought that over the summer I'll teach you trigonometry. And that basically was an extremely counterproductive exercise, because
You were like, I never
exactly
want
the
to do
opposite
this.
of what he was aiming to achieve happened. So and I was the first one in the family to not do math. I was the first one to take up arts. And about the law thing, I think at that time I was really confused, and I was doing a little bit of everything. I just didn't do the law classes. I also appeared for IHM entrances, and I think I did 5 6 other random.
But I think that's a great approach, right? Like you have to try different things to see what really sticks and what feels right.
But then it's also that if you want to do law, then you sign up for a 5 year thing, and I don't know if that makes sense to try something out.
I left law school in two
Yeah.
weeks,
Yeah,
so I don't think
exactly.
we are like great
So very
examples of
exactly.
but
Of
we've not. I mean, we've
it
done
helps
well.
to do a
Yeah.
few things and then
Yeah.
realizing what you really want to do. And I think I was in that phase when I kind of decided to, I probably take extreme measures, and I put these things to action too soon, which I think has gotten better over time. But that's something that I did. And for me to have that conversation at home was a little in my head it was going to be extremely dramatic, because to drop out of like a college course is something that I genuinely didn't think anybody at home is going to be okay with. But I was so surprised, because when I actually brought it up, even my dadi was like, "Yahi to time hai risk lene ka.
Oh
Agar abhi nahi loge,"
wow.
and I was like, "Chalo now, if dadi is convinced, then." And I was, even the dropping out, I was self doubting and questioning my decision so much. And but just having that one conversation at home gave me so
Yeah.
much clarity. And even my dad was like, "You were trying to fix something that wasn't broken in the first place."
See?
So I was like, "Okay, all right."
Because they see
And
it, they see the potential, they see
yeah,
what you build. Like
exactly.
I think we just doubt ourselves so much. Even when I started, when I came back from culinary school, I was working out of my parents' home
Yeah,
kitchen, right, for 3 months. And after 3 months, my mom was frustrated because I was just in the kitchen, like
yeah,
creating chaos for them. And my dad was like, "You have to move out and get your own space." And being
yeah.
23, you're like, "Oh my God, I have to pay this
So
rent."
much
And I
responsibility.
remember, like, when we went to sign the lease, it was like an option of signing the lease for 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
And if you signed it for five, you were getting a better deal. But I was just so like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to commit to this. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is what I want to do. What if it fails? And my dad is like, "You cannot think of a failure when you're starting something
Yeah.
new. when it comes up, if it comes up, you deal with it, but you just have to go ahead and do it, right? And I
Correct.
stayed in that kitchen, the studio that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
came
yeah,
to.
yeah,
I
yeah.
stayed there for like 7-8 years.
That's insane.
So that
Yeah.
was quite a
No, I think parents do have that special superpower, I think, because even my parents, I think, looked at content creation as a full-time profession even before I did. And
really.
that's saying something, because they have no blueprint, or they haven't seen anybody execute something like that. But I just feel like I lucked out in terms of getting support to be able to do something which is not extremely mainstream.
So you've written 4 cookbooks now,
Yes.
and when you first started, you were quite unprepared for the amount of work that that
Yeah.
actually go into a book. I know we've had several
Yes.
conversations about that, typing every single word, styling,
Yeah.
and you also shoot
Correct.
everything yourself,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I don't know why you would do that. But what are some of the things that you learned writing your first cookbook that helped you with writing the rest?
I think the one thing that I learned from trying to do it on my own is that you can't do everything on your own. And I think that's my biggest learning. I got the first person to join my team. I think in the last month, when I was just supposed to submit everything and I was a mess, and I realized that maybe it wasn't that great an idea to try and do everything on your own. And I think that's been the biggest learning for me. And I've kind of always kept that in mind. Now, if there's anything that I feel that I might not be able to do a good job at while still trying to learn it, I always try and get like a person on board who would do a better job at taking care of that particular task. So building a team, getting people on board is something that I learned.
Are you still shooting all your pictures yourself?
That I am, because I personally really enjoy that process. The amount of time taken to put each book together has gone down so much, which means that I can actually do more books. And the efficiency, of course, has increased. So I feel that the process of now doing books has become so much more enjoyable, because I have, the right team helping me with the right things. And I think that's just so important.
And how do you think you've become better at writing recipes from your first book to the fifth one is coming out?
Yeah. No, I'm still working on the fifth one, but I just feel that from when I was working on the first book, I assumed a lot of things that ये तो सबको पता ही होगा, so इसको एक line में explain कर देते हैं. So I would just like kind of think that now this is quite obvious, no? Like, just fold the dry ingredients in. Now, like, how do you explain that? But then I kind of realized
It's
that
2023.
Yeah,
Google
get
it.
on with it, people. So I think I wrote, like, I approached the first book from that perspective, even in terms of the ingredients that I used or the kind of recipes that I did. And I think not just the books, but even my content in general was very, non-accessible, I feel, to a certain extent when I was starting out, because I came from a certain thinking, and I was also looking at a lot of content creators and recipes from the West, where I would kind of, want to do something of that level without actually thinking that there's so many ingredients that I'm using which are not as easily available here. But now going forward with the books that I'm doing, and also in terms of my content strategy in general, I put in a lot of time to think about the kind of equipment that I'm using, the kind of ingredients that I'm using. And I feel that for me, a lockdown was the great period to kind of think about these things, also because I was left alone in my kitchen and I didn't have 5 people helping me कि तू frosting बना दे, मैं तब तक cupcakes कर लेता हूँ. And then I realized that I was one of my probably somebody who's reading my blog or somebody who's watching my video. Like, I had the same access to ingredients, I had the same access to manpower, and it was just me baking in my kitchen. And that kind of put a lot of things in perspective for me, because it's not just about creating something which looks good, but at the end of the day, if it's not useful for the person consuming it, there's no point of that book or that content. So I'm not saying there's no point of my first book. Everybody can still get a copy.
Hey, I've written the foreword, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
You must buy it.
Yeah.
But so now tell me, you started off with the food blog. That was the
Yes.
first thing. Then that moved to Instagram first.
Yeah.
And then YouTube.
Yeah.
I know it took you a little bit of time to kind of find your footing on YouTube. What
Yes.
was that journey like? And did you struggle? I know that there was some struggle before
Yeah.
you kind of cracked it. So
Yeah.
can you talk me through that?
So I think I'm somebody who's always, averse to change. I mean, and that's not great for somebody who's on social media, especially with the pace that it's all changing at. But I always like to kind of, like, if I'm comfortable with something, I would and again, I'm trying to change this about myself, but I would want that, okay, even if others are doing it, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Let me just do this. So for me, I've always been a photo person. I've always been behind the camera. I've always enjoyed taking pictures and styling food and taking nicely, styled pictures of the desserts that I would bake. And things used to be much easier because you would just bake and then you would just take one picture and you're done. And then for me to suddenly be in front of camera, to talk, to interact, and then you also open yourself up to like a big audience that is going to criticize not just the recipes, not just the ingredients, but also you, because you've now put yourself in front of the camera.
How do you deal with that?
So how you talk, how you say like a particular word, or
what was a comment that you found very like
there's
hurtful?
There's so many. You talk too fast, somebody would say you talk too slow, and a lot of these things. And these are things that I honestly didn't think I would be signing up for, because Instagram was never that kind of space. And again, as I said, it would mostly be around food. So you also don't take those things too personally. So even if somebody thinks that cupcake's not that nicely frosted, I'm just like, it's the cupcake's fault, not mine. But then if somebody comments on, how you look or how you talk, then you kind of, these things then affect you a little bit. So I was in the first few months of being on the platform, I was struggling with that, and I was like, why is the focus so much in me, and why are people not talking as much about the recipe? So I wasn't used to that kind of feedback coming in, and I think it's taken me a long time to kind of
it's hurtful.
Yeah, exactly.
And people don't realize that. They don't
exactly
realize
and it's also uncalled for, because again, if I'm like not what you want to watch, then you can literally just exit the video and maybe go to my blog and just read the recipe if you don't want to hear me talk. Sorry for the viewers who might find but yeah, I mean so that took me a while to get used to. And even in terms of the content strategy, it was very, very different, because I realized that it's not the same audience at all in terms of whether I want to do the content in Hindi, English, what kind of recipes I want to do, if I want to do recipes at all or not. Now I do like a lot of video concepts beyond recipes, challenges, testing things out. So yeah, like any other new platform, it took me a long time to figure it out. But now we're at 1 million, so I'm happy.
now we're at 1 million. So
Finally.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's really, and like I said, right, I've been a cheerleader from the sidelines, seeing this journey, and like, honestly, like every time something happens, or birthdays is when we like message, and I'll be like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, don't change, because I know what success can be and what it can do, and I've experienced it and I see it around me. So I'm always like feet firmly on the ground. Like I feel so protective of you, and I'm really happy that so far you haven't changed. And if you do, I'll like give you one smack.
Yeah,
and
you will. I know that.
I will send a message. But tell me, what has that success been like for you? Like, you're recognized everywhere you go. People come to you. They say they're big fans. They want to take pictures with you. You're 26.
27 now.
Oh, sorry. 27. You're 27. How does that make you feel?
It feels great, honestly. And again, it's not something that any of us expected at home or otherwise. And it's just something that I didn't set out to achieve. That was never the point. It was never that I'm going to do this because I want to be famous. And because when we started, as in, we were looked at like weird people who were doing like weird stuff and taking random pictures and posting them. So it was never the kind of exposure that is there now. I know for a fact
or
that
respect.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that creators who are starting out now, they know exactly what they're signing up for. They take it professionally, they take it seriously. But for me, it was always something that I enjoyed doing. So I never thought something like this would
I still remember
come
so
with it.
clearly, like maybe 6 years ago, there was this Bumble launch party that happened in Bombay. They had just come, and there was this big party thing, and Masoom actually walked in. And I know Masoom from school and all of that. And Masoom walked in, and she's like, I'm a content creator. 6 or 7 years years ago, and no one said that, right? Like we were all
Correct.
on social
Yeah.
media and we were all like, but I was like, wow, that confidence and that thing of just like
Yeah.
owning it and saying,
Exactly.
this is what I do and this is who
Yeah.
I am. I think that with this generation of
It's so new, right?
Yeah.
And so it genuinely feels so good. And my favorite part is when mom would come, or like even my dadi, and they would say that, oh, we met somebody and they recognized us and they said that you're from. Now even Yoda gets recognized, like, which is amazing. So I mean, like, these things I didn't expect at
Yeah.
all starting out. So I mean, I think that just makes it all the more special.
So this is the good side of it, right?
Yeah.
There's one side which is the comments on
Yeah.
the internet, which you're still away from.
Yeah.
The one thing is, the success that comes with it. What are some of the really hard things that you deal with, which maybe you don't share as openly? There are moments of doubt. We spoke
Yeah.
about that. Just the impact of your mental health of
Yeah.
it's a machine that now needs to keep
Absolutely.
churning. So
And even in terms of, I mean, the comments and all of that on social media is one thing, but just one thing that I personally struggle with is creating a balance between my personal life and my work life, because at the end of the day, I feel like I end up spending so much time on my phone.
But tell me one
And,
thing: is there, like, because I've also hung out with you a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like it's life. There's no differentiation between
Exactly. So
So
that
how do you-
demarcation is very
Yeah.
difficult, because you don't know, like, when you're on the phone for work and that's something that I am still trying to figure out with my friends and with my family, and they're all extremely supportive. But then there are times when they would get pissed off because I'm spending way too much time on my phone, and they're like, excuse me, we're all here, so spend time with us. But it's just that in that moment it just feels so important to kind of address like a certain brand inquiry that has come in, or if there's some upload that needs to be done, or if my editor is waiting for feedback, because I can't switch off that, okay, now I'm out of the office, so I'm out of the office, and my editor would edit a video at 12:01 because that's when he gets the time, and if there's something that needs to be answered. And so that kind of balance is something that I don't even know if there's any such thing as the perfect balance. But that's something that
you
I
struggle with.
struggle with, and I feel like it's kind of difficult to achieve, especially with this kind of a job, because you're like, a part of your job is being online and being on your phone. So I think that becomes a little tricky for me. So that's something which is difficult, and it's also then obviously important to prioritize your family and your friends and whoever you're spending time with. And maybe like put work on the back seat for a bit. But when you do, what is a little tricky.
So we were talking about the joy of content creation earlier on, and the joy of baking.
Yes.
And for me, when I started Low 15, there was this passion, right? Oh, I'm doing this because I'm really passionate.
Yeah.
And then it becomes so much about the work.
Correct.
And it's like, man, even if you do something you're really passionate about, there are days when you hate it.
I don't bake for
And-
myself anymore.
Yeah,
and that's sad, but I don't bake for myself anymore. I sometimes am not able to bake for my friends' birthdays. And I remember when I had just gotten my kitchen done, I would go and, just work out of there or sit there. Now, as soon as my work is over, I want to get out of there. I'm just like, I've spent too much time here. I want to be out of. And I end up baking something every day for videos and for content. I don't remember, I think the last time I baked without a camera recording it, which is sad to be honest, because the reason why I started the blog was because it was something that I enjoy doing it for myself. And now when you put it out for everybody, and then you have that, again, as you said, the pressure of putting out a new recipe every day, and you have to churn out 2 YouTube videos every week.
How do you deal with that? Yeah, I'm like, I can't even do like 2 reels a week. I'm just like I can't. But how do you keep up with this? This and everything has to be different. And do you even do it now for, oh, I think this could be an interesting recipe? Or is it like, oh, this is a formula and this is a format, and I know this will do well, this will perform well, and I just multiply that?
I unfortunately feel that there's no way to kind of tell what would do well, what would to like a large extent, because it still is unpredictable. But again, I know that if I do something with chocolate, I have to make it eggless so that a lot of more people will do it. So I know the kind of recipes that would do well. So now, I would earlier, like, I remember my first post on my blog was a 4-layer orange cake with an orange curd filling between each layer and a meringue frosting
now you're like
that was
5
taught.
things in a blender.
And now I'll just do like a 2-minute chocolate mug cake, because that's what people are searching for. So again, my style of baking has changed so much now, even in terms of, in fact, using eggs. Now I don't remember the last time I baked with eggs. Now for the book we have started,
Yeah.
because this book is going to have a few egg recipes as well.
नहीं निकाल
But
दो
निकाल दूं?
निकाल दो
Yeah, अभी कर लिए हैं 4-5 तो. But that's what I'm saying, that my baking style has also changed so much. And but in terms of frequency, to be honest, it's something that has become my routine now. It's something that,
that's the team, that's what
my team is aligned. They know that this has to happen. I know that I have to take out 2 days in a week for YouTube content. So that just ends up happening. It's my routine now. I know that Monday to Tuesday would be for reels, and I have to do 4 reels every day on each days basically. So all of that now is
It's like
extremely
your schedule,
systemized. So
it's-
that is not something that I honestly struggle with a lot. And also because even the content creation part of it, while it's extremely stressful, it's also fun for me. So I do look forward to starting each
But
day. And
how do you maintain that it stays fun, right?
Yeah.
Do you also like sometimes worry about, because with the content
Yeah.
world, there's also this thing of relevance, right?
Correct.
So is that something that you think about at all? You're like,
I
oh,
do. And as I said, and especially about, looking at what other people are doing. And on social media, that's, you only see what other people are doing, and that gets to you at times. And there's so many creators who started much after me, and now they have bigger numbers, and that kind of gets to you. So again, but I just consciously kind of try and remind myself as to why I started. But most importantly, I also remind myself that what else would you rather be doing? Like, what else can you do? So if you don't
can
know
do so much. Come on.
yeah, but what else would you rather do? Like, okay, fine. Like, you're doing this video, things are not going smoothly. You're probably making the same recipe for the 5th time to make it work. But would you rather be in an office right now working for somebody else? And that kind of brings you back that, okay, I'm making it for the 5th time, but it's still so much more fun.
Yeah, you're still.
Yeah, so those kind of reminders I need very, very frequently. But that really helps for me personally.
Just to
Yeah.
bring yourself back in the moment.
And to also tell yourself that you didn't ever keep your like an option B for yourself.
There's no
So now
safety
this
net.
is what you have.
no
So
safety
do
net.
it quietly.
Tell me one thing. When I started, I was very young as well. And one of the things that bothered me a lot was that no one took me seriously.
Yeah.
And for me, it was always a question of gender and
Yeah.
age. Did you face that when you started? Did you feel that not too many people or brands, etc., were taking you seriously? And you see that shift now?
I feel that, when I was starting out, I feel that more people have been nice and welcoming and supportive to me. But what I didn't like at all, and that used to happen quite a lot, is people who kind of patronize you, and they kind of say
Aw,
that
you're
you're just starting out, don't worry, just think about the exposure you'll get, and this is, you're just started out, and there's so many, and you're very young, so think about, so that kind of a tone where they kind of
how do you react to those kind of
I feel that I was very like at that time, like by the time I think I got out of it, until then I didn't kind of know how to respond to that. And there were also times when people have been probably successful in influencing me a little bit, or like convincing me to take something up which I would probably now not even consider doing, because they kind of make it sound like they're coming from a place of a much larger experience, and they have that kind of foresight for you which you probably don't have at that young age. But I feel that now looking back, I think that those experiences have been few, and it's so important to just hold your ground and just have confidence in what you're doing. And it's okay to say no to things even at that young age. And I feel that a lot of credit goes to you, because you know what I'm talking about. For without using any details or names, but I'd once gone to a meeting with Pooja, and I just thought this is going to be like a long discussion, and we're going to be there for a while. But I remember that without actually going around in circles or taking up anybody's time, you just kind of very politely declined what was being put on the table for you. And I think that was my first experience of actually looking at somebody, saying no so firmly, and not without being rude, which I think is so important, but just saying no. And I think that for me, it's so difficult to, just like tell people that okay, maybe not right now, or this is not something that I would like to
But
do.
so I also think we're similar in that aspect also, where you're like you're baking for a living, like you want to make
Yeah,
people happy.
correct.
You're pleasing people, like
Yeah,
that's a big part of
yeah,
the personality as well,
yeah.
right? So for me as well, it took a it even till today, it's finally now that I'm just like so much like go back to that Oprah thing, right? Like your cup needs to be full because you
Yeah,
can't water from an empty cup. So it's always about
absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
if this is going to take away my time and energy and it's not adding anything to me,
yeah.
I'm just going to say
Yeah, now
no.
for work, even I've become very this thing that I know what I want to do and what I don't want to do. But I feel that in personal life and in general, like outside of work, I feel like I still struggle to kind of disappoint anybody. But when it comes to work, even I'm just like, sorry,
Sorry.
no.
Don't have time for
Yeah.
that. Okay, tell me onto lighter things.
Yes.
What are some of the food trends right now that you absolutely hate and something that you love?
I feel like now I just hate all food trends. I just don't like the concept of food trends anymore because it
Tell
just
me,
becomes like such an
what are some
overkill.
of the trends right now?
I think recently, I mean, it's again because they change also so quickly. I don't think it's even a trend anymore. But the butterboard thing, say for example,
Oh,
that kind of took over for a bit, and I'm just like, why do you want to first spread it on another surface and then just use your bread to scrape it off, and you can just spread it onto your bread directly? So yeah, I just didn't understand the logic behind it at all.
and a trend that you love?
I don't like any. I
I
can't
saw
think of
I saw
anything.
something on Tanmay's YouTube channel about someone taking pani puri and then adding Maggie inside pani puri and then putting some like hot sauce on
I
it.
think that's the thing. Like
And
that's. I
I'm
feel
just
like
like,
yeah.
why would you do it? But it got like, it must have had like 5 million views
Yeah, but
because
I think
everyone is
that's
like,
also like coming from a place of pressure where everybody's trying to do something that would go viral or something that would catch somebody's eye or something that would help them stand out. So I think it's also coming
do you
from
feel the pressure to go viral with your recipes? Do you feel that?
I feel that, I've been doing this for 10 years now. And when I started out, there was no concept of going viral, especially in the food space. And there was no, short video concept and all of that. So I've never been that person. Like, I don't come from that school of thought of, going viral. Of course, when your reel picks up and you get like 5 million, 6 million views, that's amazing. But I would never do anything from the pressure of, I've never done any of these trends on my social media.
And what do you, I mean, you're still, you still have so many different options of things that you want to, we've spoken about different routes for you in the
Yeah.
future. What is something that, when you chart and you look at your plan, what does the big picture look like for you?
So I want to definitely be in the digital space, and because again, it's ever changing, and then there's so much happening, and I feel like I've only touched the tip of the iceberg, and there's just so much to explore. I definitely want to also, while making digital my main focus, I also want to do more tangible things, which may not exactly be, opening, say, like a brick and mortar store, but I definitely also want to get into, maybe having my own range of bakeware and things like that, which could, be something tangible that could reach my
It's about
audience
time.
also. Yeah, I know
It's
I need to.
I've been pushing him to do
Exactly.
this for.
But my focus, I've realized, will always be digital because I genuinely, truly enjoy creating content and being able to interact with so many people in one go. So I know for a fact that even if it's a new platform that I will kill myself to get onto, or
Threads.
like, yeah. I mean, again, as I said, it's a painful experience to get onto any new platform.
Yeah.
But I know that if I take it up, I will do it and I'll do a good job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So my last no sugar coat question for you
Yes.
is that if you had to go back 10 years, 11 years when we first met,
Yeah.
and you had to go back to Shivesh then and tell him, give him one piece of advice with everything that you know now,
Yeah.
what would you say to him?
I would just tell him to not be so, in two minds about everything and just kind of
Not to
go
like
for it.
second guess yourself.
And yeah, not to second guess myself and not to always be in a space where you want to look for other people to have done the same thing. So you get that confidence in yourself to also be able to do it. So even if you feel that nobody else has, done something similar, I would kind of tell him to just take that leap of faith. And I just wish I knew back then that it would work out well and it would everything would fall in place. But I think if I had that kind of confidence and foresight, I feel that I would have done my content creation even in the few initial years much more professionally and systematically. So yeah, but I'm making up for all the lost time now.
That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you liked that episode. Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. For audio episodes, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.